And we're recording. Ready. Okay, hello. So today we're going to be talking about recording techniques. This is kind of like the trial by fire of your show. Everything else is happening in kind of a time vacuum. You can do what you want. But with this, you're recording live. You have a set time. I know it's a little nerve-wracking, but it's not that hard. Thank God. Also, thankfully, good because you're going to be using your phones, which makes it a lot easier. So set up a recording day with your partner, with your co-host. And I would recommend setting aside more time than you need. Like if you are going to record for 40 minutes, set aside an hour and a half. Get there and you'll get set up. In terms of the setup, I recommend pretty much here are the rules. So for a microphone, you want it to be 3 to 5 inches away from your face, and that's roughly the width between your pinky and your thumb. And that's generally the mic distance you want. I'm using a shotgun, so it's even a little farther. It's probably 12 inches away from my face, which is a benefit of the type of mic I'm using. But with your phones, it's going to maybe even be worse than that. You might even want to have it this close to your face. But you don't want to hold it the whole time. That's not conducive at all. So what I recommend is setting up a system of, get a table nearby, like in front of you kind of, stack up books if you need to kind of create a makeshift stand. If you have an iPhone stand, I recommend you use it. I'm trying to see if I can figure something out here quickly to show you guys what I'm talking about. But if not, I'm sure you can use your imaginations. But you pretty much want to set up like kind of a tower. I'd recommend roughly something like this, whether it's with books or video games, or again, if you have a mic stand, but you want it to be relatively close to your face. And I'd set it off canted almost to your left or to your right, so you can still look directly at your co-host when you're talking, so you guys can actually have a conversation. But this is really helpful because it means you don't have to actually sit there and hold your microphone. So I'd recommend figuring something like that out for both of you. If you want, you can hold it. It's all right. Certain portable mics will. If you're holding it, you'll hear yourself holding it. You hear the sounds rattling. iPhone mics and Android mics aren't the same, so you can hold it if you really want to. But I'd recommend not, because you have to hold it for 45 minutes at a pretty consistent angle. So once you've set that up, you and your co-host, your friend, whatever, are ready to record. And this is kind of the most daunting part. I recommend once you're ready, just hitting record, because it's not going to get any easier. For a minute or two, just talk. I recommend just talking, get yourself kind of like loose and ready to record, especially if you've never done this before. It can be daunting. Start recording, and once you feel like you're in it a little bit, like you talk about what you're expecting for the day, then you're going to start your recording. So I'm going to do it as well. We're going to use this footage in the editing video next, so you can hear what it sounds like to actually use iPhone or Android or whatever microphone recordings. And pretty much, I'm going to run through what I do for a basic introduction. You can do whatever you want and say whatever you want in these parts, but this is going to be the general setup for an introduction. So you're going to start and you're going to say something along the lines of, "Hi, my name is John Sherburne, and this is Flying High, the show where we talk about Kite Runner and how resilience as a theme relates to the entirety of the book." And so in today's episode, we are going to focus on, and then you get into whatever you're going to focus on, whatever the week's assignment is. But you want to say your guys' names, you want to say the title, and you want to say roughly what the show's about. I'd recommend at the beginning of the show defining some of the terms you're going to use. Define resilience. If there's anything else major like that, define it, talk about it. If there's a chapters in the book you got to use, say, we're focusing on chapters 3 and 4, and chapters 3 and 4 are roughly about, give a summary. Something like that, just to generalize. There's this concept called the inverted pyramid. It looks something like this. It's a journalistic concept where you're going to start wide at the beginning and bring it in as you go farther in. Obviously, you're going to bend and break this rule a little bit, but generally, you want to start with your general terms, right? What does stuff mean? What does stuff about? When I do my podcast, when I do the Nightcap podcast, I start there. I introduce, if I'm talking about, say, populism for an episode, I introduce what populism is, I give history, I give background, and then as you go into it, you get into your opinions, you get into theories, complexities, and then eventually you're at the end of the pyramid and you're at the kind of the bottom, you could say, and that's when you kind of end your show. And I don't have much notes for how to actually make your show. That is on you guys. You can do whatever you want. You can focus on whatever you want within the bounds of the assignment. What I recommend is to manipulate those assignment notes as much as you can. Because, again, everyone got the same assignment, and so it's going to be very repetitive. And so I recommend trying to take the assignment and twist it into the most creative way possible and focus on stuff that is what your teachers want you to focus on, but in a different way. Try to do something unique. And I'm sure, maybe I'm wrong, sue me if your teacher gives you a bad grade, but maybe I'm wrong, but I assume your teacher's would prefer to see creativity as opposed to following the exact letter of what the assignment says. So try to follow the assignment, but also try to do something unique, do something different. Keep it funny, keep it light, keep it, again, talk to the person. This is why you're not supposed to focus on your notes. If you're reading off a page all the time, it's really easy to get into this monotonous thing where I wanted to ask you, what did you think about this part of chapter 2? I thought it was really interesting. That's not how people talk. And so really just try to make eye contact, try to forget about the mic, and just talk to your partner, talk to your co-host, argue, communicate, go off on a tangent. It's really important. So that's some of my tips for actually recording. When you're finished, you want to kind of close off and say thank you for listening to another episode of the show. We're going to be back next week, so if you could, just hold on till then, we will see you with more content shortly. Something like that to kind of close the show out. And again, I have the smallest amount of information on the recording process because every show is different. So if you are stuck, feel free to reach out to me. Again, my email is jonathansherburn98@gmail.com. We'll put that in there so you guys can use it. And if you need to reach out, feel free. I recommend first, though, looking at other shows. Looking at shows that do book reviews. Looking at shows that do similar things to see how they format, if you need. But I also recommend making your own show. And so that is pretty much all. Thank you for listening. And I will see you next time